They have lab protests that we learned in the past.
Rounds of championship fights. We're going to bring out the senior vice president of the UFC Performance Institute, Duncan French. He, of course, is at the forefront of MMA technology, anything involving our UFC athletes to the highest level. And he'll explain a little bit more about this exciting announcement that's been a project that's taken more than 5 years to complete. So we're very excited to make this announcement today. It's been quite a road, Duncan, hasn't it?
Absolutely, it's been very exciting. There's been many contributors across the UFC ecosystem that have been involved in this project from its inception many years ago. And it's great to get to today where we're launching a new book.
So tell a little bit about what you do for the UFC Performance Institute.
Yes, I'm the Senior Vice President of the Performance Institute. As many in the room are aware, that's kind of the high performance service infrastructure. We support the athletes with a variety of services, everything from sports science applications through the nutrition. It's been a busy day to wake up today, and medical services. And then we get brought into obviously supporting projects that have been led by other departments within the UFC, and they're talking the commercial products group about exciting things like gloves and equipment. Been able to do that in this project as well.
Something that was mentioned is that the technology has changed so much, and so much has evolved in the sport, but the glove really hadn't for the UFC. What is your excitement level of what this brings for the athletes that you work with?
Yeah, I mean, as you saw in the video, the UFC's had evolutions in many aspects of its operation, from the octagon to the fight wear to the Performance Institute, the way that we produce the shows. And the one thing that's really been static for 11, 10, 11, 12 years is the one critical component of the sport, the gloves. So to go down this route of redesign and redevelopment, I think it's critical. Using our partners in Vices and Diaco and B-Chain, that we'll go to here momentarily as well, they've all been intimately involved in this process. So it's really been a collaboration of many minds coming together for the health and safety of our health and safe environment, but also we've done that by bringing new technology and new information, new designs of gloves.
So when you think about these gloves and when you explain it, what are the cool features that you're excited about that really benefits the athletes?
Yeah, there's really so many, and it seems very subtle, but there are lots of aspects to it. Not only is the glove lighter, we've moved to a universal unisex sizing approach, so there's no longer female and male gloves. It's a unisex sizing, so we hope that will have a better form within the glove itself. And then you move to kind of the function and performance of the glove, and there's so many cool aspects to that. And they spoke about the padding and the slip planes and the contour features that will mold to the athletes. Chips into the glove now, so that we can actually authenticate every single glove as well. So whether it's manufacturing, the design, the technology, the new age, materials that come into the glove, it's very, very exciting.
Can you explain more about the chip technology? So to authenticate the glove, and what I understand is that each glove will almost be registered, and you'll be able to tell which bout they were used for. Is there more to the chip technology than just the authentication?
Absolutely, you nailed it. There is no kind of diagnostic part related to the chip. It's very much an authentication piece. What that means is that any athlete that goes into the octagon, as soon as they put their gloves on, we can authenticate that glove, we can record that athlete against that bout, and when they leave the octagon, if the fan wants to purchase or secure those gloves, any point in that process,
Institute each day while the athletes were testing them out in the Contender Series last season, which I didn't even know that we were, kind of covertly testing out this glove on Tango White's Contender Series. Can you go through some of the functions of the glove, the seams on the inside and the different functions for fighters that benefit?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's been the beauty of the Performance Institute through this process. We've taken the testimonials and the guidance of the athletes all the way through. Every step of the way, whether it was the evaluation and interrogation of the old glove, to understand its pros and cons and how we use that information to then obviously direct the ideation of the new glove. The athletes have been engaged throughout that whole process. There's some really unique features. I think the impact pad system, which allows the flexion of the hand to fall into a more natural position. I mean, the talk around, I posted obviously. The old glove really had quite stiff bone, which held the hand in a very rigid position. So as athletes were trying to close their fist throughout the fight, that would fatigue their hand and ultimately return this to the position where the fingers were out facing. The new technology that the device brought to the table with that slip release allows the hand to sit in a much more natural position, so the fingers now are no longer kind of facing forward. We've got protection on both sides of the glove now, not previously there, so whether it's those hand fists or those heavy, overhand punches that potentially will impact, second or fifth metacarpals, we now got protection around them. The strapping on the wrist, the nature in which that will now have a much more secure fit to the athlete's hands, mitigating any ability of opponents to get their fingers inside there. But the key thing which we ultimately wanted to do was not change the sport in any way, shape, or form. We didn't want to see, some spikes and knockouts or things that would reflect, hey, yeah, we've got a new glove, but it's totally changed the nature of the sport. That's been critical to the design brief from day one. We don't want to change the nature of the sport, but we absolutely want to enhance the form, the fit, and the performance of the glove for the athlete.
What do you think will change when we do watch? You don't want to change the sport to the knockouts or anything like that. How do you expect the fights to maybe go a bit differently because of the improvement?
Well, listen, everyone's ambition is to, ensure that we reduce, hand breaks or fractures of the bones within the hand. And everyone is trying to seek a way to, reduce or mitigate ankles. And, the nature of an MMA glove where your fingers are exposed, we're never. We hope that will be the case with the way in which the new glove sits.
We do have some samples. It looks like they're being passed around out here, so you guys can kind of check it out for yourself. What was the decision process in redesigning?
I mean, it started at the top with Dana and everybody else, but ultimately, when Ember and Tracy's team, commercial products who work with the equipment teams and the cut men that are doing the hand wraps, there was just a recognition that there's not been an evolution. There's not been an evolution in this critical part of our sport. And I think that pollinated the momentum around, okay, can we explore the opportunity to build into a new glove launch?
And what's it like for you, this process that's taken more than 5 years to be involved in?
I mean, listen, I geek out on this stuff, I'm not a scientist, right? So, where we take, data. Passion, I love that. I think we've been very thorough in our approach here, and we've lent on some critical partners, advices, that have done all the R&D and the evaluation and the ideation and design. We've obviously aligned with our current manufacturers and Diaco to bring this design concept to life. So along the way, whether it's Dr. Davidson and the medical team and their input, whether Performance Institute and the athletes, whether it's our partners at Medina or importantly, this 5-year journey has been exceptional. I think we've arrived at a really good place.
We saw Vanessa Demopoulos in the video, and Julian Rosa giving their thought. What has been the consensus thought that fighters keep bringing back to in terms of feedback because they tested it at the PI?
The overwhelming one has always been how mobile and flexible it is. Grapple, I can grab, it's easy for me to close my fist, to clench, and that's been by design. I think that's been an overwhelming positive that the athletes have reported is just the dexterity of the glove. I think they like the design features, as I say, the reduction in the seams and removal of some of the stitching, so we can minimise and mitigate the operations of cuts, hopefully. And also, when they hit the bags, they feel and they're reporting, the sensation of force, application and how it feels and the comfort in the glove. It's all very rewarding to us as the team development.
And then anything that we learned after they were in actual competition at Dana White's Contender Series, not just in the training room.
Yeah, so I mean, listen, I'm sure we're all excited that it wasn't identified information from those 100 or so fighters that were in Series 7. We've been able to take that data and information, compare it to the previous Contender Series, performance metrics, be that knockouts, finishes, those characteristics you think would be impacted or related to the glove and the nature of the glove. They've all been very static, which is ultimately what we wanted to see. So Series 7 versus the series, no difference in the performance metrics, even though the fighters were wearing a new glove. So, big check in that box. As I say, we didn't want to change the nature of the sport. But the athletes coming out and Contender in Series 7, again, reporting, it takes a little bit of time for people to feel a new tool. There's obviously a behavioural change, figuring out what's the differences, but overwhelmingly positive.
We're going to see these new gloves inside the octagon.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously today we're excited to launch the glove. The glove will be worn in live combat UFC at Newark for UFC 302 on June 1st. What we will be doing starting tomorrow with the athletes that are on that Newark card, they will be receiving the new glove to essentially practice in the glove for the next 2 months going into.
All right, and that's when fans will be able to purchase those as well. My friend Tracy just told me that in the lead up to UFC 302 in Newark. Does any of our media friends have any questions for Duncan French?
I'm sorry, apologies if I already answered this, but on the sheet we got, I noticed that it's like a 1.5 pound difference from the current glove, so 4 ounces, I should say. So I guess what is your thoughts kind of reduce the weight?
Well, the reduction in weight was kind of whether that was underneath the fingers that again restricted the ability to make the fist clinch, or whether that was kind of some of the exterior parts around the palm. So by being able to take away material, take away the extra leather, we've also been able to reduce weight. Okay? But ultimately, we wanted a much more streamlined fit, much more form fit, and we're now working with impact molded foam rather than cut foam. So we have much more consistency across all of our sizing. So when athletes are going to use the glove, yes, the reduction in weight is related to our ability to redesign and remove some of the facts of the bone.
Going off of that, those between 3 and 9 ounces rather than just across the board. Is that just because of the size of?
Correct. Yeah. I mean, listen, we've got I think. Between the actual weights, the smallest and the largest size also have been reduced on that delta. So it's a good point.
You mentioned the dad field testing at the Contender Series. Did you see a decrease in IPOs?
So IPOs is an interesting one in as much as recently we've seen a lot of IPOs. There's about 36 IPOs on a yearly basis in average since 2019 in the UFC. An IPO happens about every 14 fights, and the average duration of a to the information, and again, leaning on our colleagues within UFC Stats 3027 that pulled all this information for us. And the information comes from series 1 through 6 of the content that was significantly greater than series 7. So we actually saw a reduction in outcomes in that 7th series when we were in flood. Now, again, we hope that that is a consequence of the redesign nature of the club and overall watching moving forward to ensure
You mentioned kind of wanting to seen that.
correct. Yeah, I mean, if we change the nature of the bone or the construct of the club, and now that club is impacting athletes, you know, the last thing we want to see is a huge spike or an elevation in knockouts as a consequence of the way we redesign the materials in the club. So that's actually a very tricky design brief that we gave Vice, as much as we don't want anything in the sport to change regarding finishes, stoppages, and knockouts. What we really want to can we reduce those separations, spokes? So yes, there were certain performance metrics we just wanted to be static because at the end of the day, MMA is MMA. We don't really want to change that in any way, shape, or form by ultimately changing the tool that is involved in the fight.
How if at all will this affect?
Yeah, I mean, as I mentioned, it's more of a streamlined and low-profile glove. It fits the athlete's hands much more accurately. So there will be a small adaptation. So, you know, what we're expecting is that the need for excessive amounts of taping and wraps will be reduced somewhat because the fit of the glove will be much more accurate.
Any other questions? Oh, Alex, go ahead.
What's the red glove being used for?
So the red glove is for events like the Road to UFC in Asia, or if we have other UFC assets online, we potentially use the red glove.
Anybody else? For this exciting time, UFC 302 in Newark. We'll see these new gloves in action. Have a great weekend.